And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot live here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel and Twitter account. I am your host / moderator, Bryson Carver, and let me tell you something, y'all. We got a great show tonight and a great panel of guests. Let's start with the guy on the bottom left there, our guy from the Cowboys CanFan Podcast, Adam Besse. Adam, this is your second appearance on the show, right? How you doing? Unmute your mic. We got unmute our mics here. Let's see. Oh, I may have to dock you. I may have to dock you some points, Adam.
You do it. Dock me at least 10 points there for that amateur hour. Feeling good being back on the show. Trying to actually show up this time and not get booted before the final round. So, yeah, I'm excited for today's episode. Look forward to competing.
You're going to have to outdo your man AJ, because AJ came on here, very recently and was very, very good. And he actually outdid you points-wise. So hats off to AJ, and shout out to him, and shout out to Anth as well in the CanFan doing a great job. To Dalton Brown, who was just recently at a game, his Rams against the Indianapolis Colts. You were in for a good one, a 23-point comeback that got capped off by a walk-off touchdown by Puka Nacua at the gun. Dalton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. That game was especially fun because I had the over 45.5, and I needed that 2-point conversion at the end to force OT to get me there. So all good times were had in Indianapolis on Sunday.
You won the game and you won money. There's nothing better than that when it comes to sports. So now to Alfred, who is not just only at a game, man. He's meeting celebrities all over the place at MetLife Stadium the other night. Alfred, who did you meet? And tell me about it.
Well, Taylor Swift's entourage and convoy ended up walking by me, and the security pushed me out the way. But I also spoke 2 words to Aaron Rodgers, so that made up for it.
Hey, there you go. Listen, you talk to the second most notable person in the building, and and Aaron Rodgers, and you see Taylor Swift. So good. And by the way, great performance by your Jets, albeit although it was in a loss. Finally, to Mike Guido, who won last week. Actually put up a perfect score last week. It's hard to outdo that performance. But Mike, how you doing as the reigning champion of the 8 o'clock spot?
It's great to be here. As the reigning champion, I plan on continuing my fortuitous run, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a real nice show today. Obviously, Taylor Swift's security doesn't know who Alfred Parsard Jr. is.
That's right.
The Gryd Network, so they don't know who they're messing with, I don't think.
I'm with you, man. You got to pay some respect to where it's due. This guy's been at Jets games for how long now? Props to him. All right, so let's go to our first to our leaderboard. Let's look where we're at right now. So of course Barry Grant Jr. in first, pretty commanding lead. But there's Alfred in second. If Alfred wins tonight, maybe he could pull to within an inch or two of Barry. Then followed by our guy Devin Nettles, Mike Guido, Dalton Brown, John Rivera, Alex Johnson, and Adam Besse, 2 CanFan guys there at the bottom, but definitely represent, no question about it. Let's go to our first round rules. Pretty simple here. A great take nets you 200 points. A good take 100 points. An okay take gives you 50 points, and a bad take 0 points for any of these panelists. Let's move to our first segment. The Buffalo Bills, I don't know what you want to call it, just rammed, so to speak, the Miami Dolphins by a final score 48-20 in Orchard Park. Josh Allen was absolutely spectacular in the game. Put up a perfect passer rating. 2 of the Miami Dolphins offense struggled, particularly in the second half, and certainly their defense was quite abysmal, but you got to give credit to Buffalo as well, just putting points on the board. It seemed like they scored every time they touched the football. So I'll start with you first, Adam. Was this game more about what Buffalo did or what Miami didn't do?
I think this game is more about what Buffalo has been doing, coming off of this is their 3rd game winning, so they're kind of on that train. You shouldn't have counted out Josh Allen when he's showing up. I don't think it necessarily stopped the hype train for the Miami Dolphins. They're still a very solid team, fastest team right now in the NFL. So I'm going to know that this hasn't stopped the train. It's just Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and the crew. They're showing up, and it's a solid defense. So you play against good teams. It's not any given Sunday you can win or lose. So that for me, it didn't stop the hype train for the Miami Dolphins. It just shows that the Bills should not be counted out this year, which everyone after the first game was.
Listen, I was counting them out before the season even started. So thus far, I'm dead wrong on Buffalo. And Josh Allen is in the last 3 weeks is strong case you can make. He's first in basically every major quarterback stat. And then the defense has been outstanding. It looks like they're getting Von Miller back pretty soon. So very happy times in the city of Buffalo right now. To you, Dalton. Dalton's a Rams fan, but he's wearing a Bills hat today in preparation, I guess, for this very segment. So Dalton, I'm gonna ask you: did this stop the Miami Dolphins hype train? What Buffalo did to them on Sunday?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. For me, the Miami Dolphins hype train has kind of been the same as it was last season for me. I think it's a team with a really good offense, a team that's just okay on defense. I think there are a lot of weapons there. It's a fun team to watch, but we haven't seen there's no real evidence that they've passed Buffalo in that division. Buffalo's beaten them 10 out of the last 11 times they've played them, dating back to 2018. This was more of the same. The yardage was close. A lot of the stats were close, but Miami 3 for 13 on 3rd and 4th downs combined. Buffalo's defense, even with injuries, missing guys, still found a way to get off the field consistently when it needed to. And that's what we've seen from Buffalo in this series with Miami. They're one team that has found a way to put guys over the top where they need to and stop Miami's speed. So until Miami shows that they can deal with what McDermott throws out there on defense, this is Buffalo's series and this is Buffalo's division.
Yeah, and it felt like they got obviously a running game going pretty consistently. Again, Josh Allen was accurate, didn't turn the football over, and Stephon Diggs was spectacular. And the shock for me, I think, was the fact that, and I know it's a new system, and there's no Jalen Ramsey, but Vic Fangio was sort of this big time acquisition for them as their new defensive coordinator. And thus far, they haven't exactly blown anybody's socks off through any of the first 4 games of the season, including against New England, who we know has a terrible offense. We'll get into them more later. To Alfred now, again, as an AFC East guy, as a Jets fan, do you think this win by the Buffalo Bills kind of halted the Miami Dolphins hype train?
I don't think it halted the Dolphins hype train. People have to be realistic here. They put up 70 on the stinky Denver Broncos a week ago, and basically it was just a case of coming back down to earth. You're not gonna, just because you go against one opponent and break all historical scoring records for all intents and purposes, that type of output is not sustainable week after week after week. So they just fell back down to earth. They're gonna be okay. If you look at the Dolphins' schedule, 3 of the next 4 games, they should go 3-1. They lost to the Bills handedly, but the Bills were in Buffalo at home. Their next game is against the Giants, who obviously we've seen them in prime time, can't win a game to save their lives. Then they have the Panthers, both at home. They play the Eagles, which could go either way, and then they have the Patriots again, and 3 of those next 4 games are at home, where they have an advantage. Tua will be comfortable. So no, it doesn't halt the hype train. The case of whether they're better, whether the Bills are better than them, I think I'm not going to rush to judgment yet, because this is a new season, and both teams only have 1 loss, and there's plenty of football left to play. But as far as the hype train being slowed down, 3 out of 4 of their next opponents are cake matchups at home. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, they should be. And again, Dalton was mentioning earlier, or I think it was Adam actually mentioning earlier, that they're the fastest team in the NFL. And, you consider the fact that, look, obviously you mentioned the schedule. They do, after all, play the NFC East this season. We know there's some good teams in that division, some championship contenders in that division. And listen, they will be tested down the road. And it's, listen, the divisional familiarity is a real thing. We can argue about who's more talented, but, listen, when you talk about from a game plan perspective, from a quarterback perspective, I had to make my apology to Tua fans last week on my show. That doesn't make him better than Josh Allen. So, you give hats off to Josh and the Bills for.
But also one last point. If anybody thought that they were going to be a 70+ point scoring team per game after that game against the Broncos, well, I mean, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, but it's happened, I think, 3 times in the history of the NFL. That's just that. Yeah, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. Finally, to you, Mike. I know you're a big time Josh Allen guy. Do you think what he did and what the Bills did to the Dolphins? Do you think this kind of halted the hype train to a certain degree?
To some extent, yeah. I think it. I think it has more to do with what Buffalo is than what Miami is. Because we could talk all day about how Miami's defense isn't very good and everything like that, and I think that that's going to plague them, as the season progresses. But it doesn't just say a lot about Buffalo, I think, or what Buffalo is now. I think it's a lot about what Buffalo could be. I mean, you look at their schedule. They've won the last 3 games by over 28 points apiece. I think if you look at their schedule going forward, you don't really, unless they lose to a sneaky game like to New England on the road or something like that, that's, in a couple of weeks away, I don't really see a loss on their schedule until about November 26th. When they play Philadelphia. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this was kind of the game for me where, after week 1, everybody knows that right now Buffalo's been excellent, but this was the game that was going to kind of solidify that, they are what they were last year, or even better than what they were last year. Obviously, I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. So, they rank among the teams that can obviously win the Super Bowl for me, but yeah, I'm with you. I think that this is a lot more to do with
what Buffalo is right now than what Miami is. Miami's a great offensive team. I think their defense is going to struggle later on, but it's going to be a fun watch for the rest of the season. I'm with Dalton. I think I was kind of buying into Miami's hype train last week after the 70-point win. This looks like a very fun offensive team, but if they can't button up their defense, it's going to be a lot of trouble later on in the season.
They could be like the NFL's version of USC if you think about it. Obviously, Tua isn't quite as talented as Caleb Williams, but we know USC, the defensive struggles they're having, and the Dolphins have been exactly the same. Before we get to our point totals, we got a few comments here. Alonzo Diaz says, why is Alfred slandering the best team in New York? I don't think he was necessarily slandering them. I think he was bringing facts and objectivity. Alex Johnson, AJ of the Cowboys CanFan Podcast, in representing, said, sup. What's up, AJ? Again, had a great performance in the 8 o'clock spot just a couple weeks ago. Alonzo Diaz says the Giants are better than the Jets. That's no, they are not better than the Jets. Okay, stop. Can you score points? Can you score more than 3 points at home through the first 2 games? Is that too much to ask? Okay, let's relax on the Giants. Okay,
that's some comedy from Alonzo.
It's come on, man. With all due respect, Alonzo, you're the man, but no. Okay, let's get to our point totals thus far. Okay, Adam went first, so we'll go to Adam. Thought that was a great take by you, Adam. I thought, you were talking about how listen, it's a fast team in Miami. What Buffalo was able to do to kind of stop that from a defensive standpoint, and listen, Buffalo does have one of the better defenses. Heck, you could argue top 2 in the NFL in that regard. So great take by you, Dalton. I'm going to give you a great take as well. Interesting stat you brought up. I don't know if it's totally relevant from where they had this long winning streak dating back to 2018 because Tua's only been there since 2020. But when you listen, there's somewhat of a familiarity in terms of personnel. There's been players come in and coming out, but listen, we talked about winning streaks in college football with coaches and players that are long gone. So that's a fair point by you, Alfred. Good take. The only reason I didn't give you a great take is because you were talking about how maybe the schedule for Miami, it's gonna sort of speed it up a little bit. Solid. Good take by Alfred, but not a great one. And finally, to Mike Guido, as I get his point total going here. There it is. Okay, Mike Guido, 200 points for you, sir. Again, great take on your part. Your belief in Josh Allen. Again, I try to love Josh Allen. It's very easy to do that today, but your belief is certainly being validated in a very big way right now. I just need to see him do it in the playoffs outside of 2021. Let's see. Barry says there's only one person I like on this show. I'm going to take a wild guess and let's say that's probably Adam. Is that Barry? Again, the points leader, the wrench, so to speak, is trying to insert himself into the show. We're not going to let you take over this in the comment section, Barry. We're not going to let you do it. Okay. It's about the panelists. It's about the show. It's about you're not gonna not today. Okay, it's actually our first show without Barry, believe it or not. So we're gonna get it done today. Second round rules. Move on to second round. Second round rules, again, pretty simple. Just basically doubling from the first round. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take 200 points. An okay take 100, and a bad take still stays at 0. We're gonna move on to a matchup next week featuring the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, we know these two teams have faced off in the playoffs the last couple of years, with San Francisco coming out on top in both matchups. Dallas's offense struggling in both matchups. This is gonna be the Sunday night game, standalone. Niners are 4-0. Dallas is 3-1. Both teams have looked highly impressive this season, aside from Dallas's one stinker against the Cardinals. So I'll start with you, Dalton. Do you think this game determines today who the best team in the NFC is?
Well, I think the best team in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're going to win this game and continue to show that to be the case on Sunday night. So in that sense, I would say yes. We all know that the 49ers defense is one of the most impressive things in the NFL on either side of the ball. They've been that way for multiple years now. The talent on that side of the ball is incredible. But I don't think Brock Purdy gets enough attention for being arguably the best quarterback in the NFL since he started playing. I mean, if you look at the 49ers point total since he took over, 38, 37, 37, 21, 35, 33, 38, 23, 37. And then you look at so far this year, he's yet to throw an interception this year. That makes him 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions since he came into the league. This season, 35, 30, 30, 30. This is the most dominant offense right now in the NFL outside of maybe Miami, except they pair it with an elite defense. I think San Francisco might be the best team in the NFL. I think they're clearly the class of the NFC for the time being. They've shown that against Dallas when they faced them in the past in the playoffs, both at home and on the road. I think we see that again Sunday night. I'm a Rams fan. It pains me to say the Niners are the class of the NFC. I think they would have been the class of the NFC last year too had Purdy not gotten hurt in the championship game of the conference.
And again, I've said for so long, and I think everybody here would pretty much agree with me, I don't know where the hole in the roster is. I don't know. I mean, you could argue maybe the secondary, but again, even there, they've got Talanoa Hufanga, who's a Pro Bowl level player. And I did not know you were a Brock Purdy stan the way I was, Dalton, so that's great to know. I've always been a Brock Purdy guy, so it's great to see him getting some respect here in the 8 o'clock spot. I'll move to you, Alfred. Do you think this matchup between the Cowboys and the Niners determines who the best team in the NFC is?
I do not, because the better team between the two is the 49ers, and furthermore, their opponent in this game, the Dallas Cowboys, aren't even the best team in their division. If this was a game between the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles, now we got a conversation. As you mentioned, the Arizona Cardinals, huge upset against the Dallas Cowboys in week 3. Trayvon Diggs being out significantly affects their defense with how well he's played both so far up to this season until he got hurt and in the past. So, and then that offense, so many weapons at Brock Purdy's disposal, whether he wants to go to Brendan Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey has been a beast since the season started. He's scored at least 1 touchdown in every game so far this season. He's probably having an MVP type campaign if he can keep it up throughout the course of the season. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't know, but that loss against Arizona, granted, I know some people throughout the football world, they give them respect because they play with heart, but that was a game that they should have never lost. Not when Vegas has you as a 14.5 point favorite. So I don't see this being the definitive battle between who's better in the best team in the NFC, when we all know that the 49ers are 99.9% likely to win that game on Sunday. And 99.9.
Wow.
And again,
okay.
we can't have this. It's not fair to have a conversation of, does this determine who's the better team in the NFC when their opponent isn't even the best team in their division? I'm sorry, but that blemish against the Cardinals did it for me as far as who's better in that division. And the Eagles haven't even lost yet. So I'm waiting for that matchup later on in the season to have that conversation.
If you're saying 99.9, Alfred, why don't you just go and say 100? I mean, that's all but guaranteeing a Niners win. Again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with you in terms of your take or whether or not Dallas or San Francisco wins that game, but that's very interesting. But again, you mentioned, listen, Brock Purdy, or sturdy Brock Purdy as I call him, has not since he was inserted in the lineup, or even before that, the Niners have not lost a game in which their quarterback finished the game since October of last year. So it's been almost a year. The only game they've lost the Brock Purdy era was when he was taken to the hospital. So, there you go. To Mike Guido's finish. What's that?
No, I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, to final couple of panelists here happen to be Dallas Cowboys fans, so I guess it's kind of fitting to maybe balance the scales a little bit. I'll start with you, Mike. Do you think this game between Dallas and San Francisco this upcoming Sunday night determines who the best team in the NFC is?
I kind of do. And the reason I say that is because I think that we're kind of crowning right now, as Dalton and Alfred have both said, that we are kind of crowning right now the San Francisco 49ers as the number 1 team in the league, let alone the NFC. If Dallas beats them, depending on how Dallas beats them, I think it could very well be possible that Dallas could unseed them. However, though, I don't think that that's going to happen. I know that, listen, I'm a Cowboys fan. I know Adam's a big Cowboys fan as well. And I'm sure that I'm hurting everybody's feelings when it comes to this as far as Cowboy fans are concerned. But I don't think that they're going to win that game. And it's simply because it's going to be a difference in mistakes. Very easily right now, one thing that you can say about Brock Purdy is that while he might not be the most efficient on third down all the time, while he might not be the most talented quarterback in the league as far as mobility, arm strength, all of those things, one thing that Kyle Shanahan has been able to do with him is he's been able to limit the amount of mistakes that Brock Purdy has the opportunity to make. Christian McCaffrey has been phenomenal this year. Brandon Ayuk has emerged as one of the better wide receivers in the NFL so far this season. He's been fantastic. Their offensive line is among the best in the league. That defense, of course, is fantastic with a great pass rush led by Nick Bosa. The 49ers are an unbelievable team. However, like I said, the thing that's going to make the difference in this game, it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I do think the Dallas Cowboy defense makes a lot of difference because the last time they played Brock Purdy in the playoffs, they gave Brock Purdy fits. So I do think that plays a factor. But the difference in this game to me, Dak Prescott is going to make more mistakes than Brock Purdy is, and that's going to be the difference in the game. I think it's a close game, but San Francisco will win it. If Dallas does take it, though, that's how I'll answer the question. If Dallas does take it, I think you'd have to kind of say, yeah, they might be the best team in the NFC if they're taking down the already so-called crowned NFC favorites.
Yeah, and like you said, the game a year ago, and even the game before that, I know San Francisco scored in the 20s, but even the game before that was somewhat of a defensive battle. So again, both defenses are great, both offenses have playmakers. It's gonna be a question about, like you said, which quarterback doesn't make mistakes, and which coach. I certainly trust, and I actually like McCarthy, but I certainly trust Kyle Shanahan more than I trust Coach Mike. To Adam now, finally, who do you think, or do you think this matchup determines who the best team in the NFC is between your Cowboys and the dreaded 49ers?
No, and fact of the matter is it's week 5. So this game, the only thing this game does for us, and it's a lose-lose for Cowboys, because if we win the game, everybody's going to say, well, can you do it in the postseason? And if we lose the game, it's going to be like, well, yeah, of course you lost the game because the Cowboys aren't elite. So it's a lose-lose scenario for the Cowboys. I don't believe that this game is going to tell us who the top NFC team is, because it's week 5. The championship game in the postseason determines who the top contender for the NFC is, period. So I think that if we were looking at stat-wise, obviously Eagles versus 49ers, 4-0, both of them, that's more of who the top contender in the NFC is. That's who last year was the contenders for the championship game. I think this is more of a proving game for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't want to go against all of these stats that everyone's talking about on here, because it's irrelevant at the moment. It's week 5. It's more of a proving ground for our Cowboys team. We all know that the San Francisco 49ers are a very complete team on both sides of the balls, and the Cowboys have struggled on offense. I think our defense is going to neutralize Brock Purdy. We helped neutralize CMC and Deebo Samuel's last season in the postseason. That defense has only changed slightly with Trevon Diggs out, but we have Gilmore. So we're kind of going that one elite corner for another elite corner, regardless of how old he is. But it's a long season, guys. CMC next week could get injured, and Deebo Samuels can get injured, and then all of a sudden they have to change their entire strategy as a team because it's week 5. So no, this game doesn't tell us who the top contender in the NFC is, because it's still a long season to go.
There's some truth to what you're saying in that, the media reaction to because obviously there's big reactions to Dallas, and there's big reactions to Patrick Mahomes and whoever the star players or star teams are in the league, and certainly Dallas more than qualifies for that. I don't know. I gotta admit to you, there'll be your typical Cowboy haters in the media say like, oh, who cares? Hey, let's see him do it in the playoffs. But I think I gotta admit to you, man, I think there will be some people that if they go into San Francisco's house, a team that hasn't lost with a healthy quarterback since October, I'm telling you, I think there's gonna be some folks coming in there.
Bryson, every Cowboy hater is going to still be a Cowboy hater, regardless if we do well. And
Cowboys hater.
Most media are going to say, "Well, hey, this is great for them. It's week 5. Let's see them in the postseason." When we beat the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, we're gonna hear all that.
Okay, well, first of all, I like you guaranteeing a win, because basically everybody else here has. I'll tell you that if there's one thing I've learned from doing live shows, it is that when you talk about the Cowboys, man, you get a lot of feedback. So I can't get to all these comments here. I got our guy Devin in the comments. He's excited to see us here. Shaheem Taylor says Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I'm not sure he's 3rd in his division or 4th. Stafford, Murray, Geno, Purdy. I'd take Geno over Kyler Murray, no question about it. That's where I go. Let's see. Let's see. Cowboys choke every year, so we do have some anti-Cowboys comments. Although we do also have some Giants fans here. Let's see. Sasir Brown says the Cowboys are overrated. Dak can't even move the ball. So it looks like we got a lot of pro Niners comments, and we had 3 people here say that the 49ers are going to win the game. So I'm sorry, Adam. Even I'm sorry to you, Mike, because you're a Cowboys fan. But listen, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be close. It's gonna come down to the wire. We'll see. Let's go to our point totals thus far. So let's see. Dalton went first. Okay, so Dalton, I'm going to give you the 600 points in total, but the 400 points for the great take. Listen, like you mentioned about San Francisco's defense, you all but guaranteed a victory for the Niners because of the fact that they just frankly, I agree with you, I think they are the better overall roster than Dallas, and Dallas is an excellent roster. San Francisco's is simply better. To Alfred now. Good take. Actually, great. No, actually, that gave you a great take there, Alfred. Again, you were mentioning San Francisco's roster, the defense, the recent success against the Cowboys in the past. So I gave you the great take there. Let's see, where's Mike Guido? Give him the full 400 points as well. Mike is on fire right now. He's had great takes dating back to last show and now this show, man. He is absolutely feeling himself right now. A lot more than his Yankees were this season. But that's neither here nor there. But great take by Mike.
Bryson. Low blow.
I'm wearing a Red Sox hoodie, man. I had to get one shot. I had to get one. Hey, we're both sitting at home for the playoffs while our other teams in the division are duking out in October. Of course, that's how it goes. But listen, 600 points, great take by you. Hold on, let's see if we can get Adam again. Solid take by Adam. Again, I'm only going to give him the 200 for a good take. The only reason I say that is because again, I do think your Cowboys haters going to be Cowboys haters regardless, and we know they are. You're Stephen A. Smith, people like that. But I think again, the people that are objective, the people that are honest and objective about Dallas, I think you'll have people coming in on Monday on all these shows and say, hey, we may need to start looking at the Cowboys in a different sense because in recent years, there's a comment here like they cannot move the ball against the 49ers in the last couple of seasons. Not many, offenses can for record, but that's kind of where we're at. So any sort of a pushback on what I'm saying, Adam? Because I know
and you can doc right now. We have some behind baseball chatting going on. Dalton doesn't like my answer, and I think there's a bit of a fear that if people speak up out of turn, they get docked, and he's here to win. You could dock me as many points. I still don't think my answer is a cop out. The whole point is I would love to debate. I'll debate you all day long about my answer because I still don't think that this game decides who the NFC top contender is going to be after a Week 5 game. I just don't.
Well, of course, there's a whole season to be played, and of course,
but be careful. Hey, you don't want to say too much. You might get docked points there.
No. Go ahead. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Look, of course, it's Week 5. Of course, players can get hurt. Dallas players can get hurt too. Like to me, that's just a non-take. That's just saying, "Oh, it's October." Of course, it's October, but that's what we're doing here. Like what we're doing here is we're saying as of Week 5.
And my answer was that I think that it's more of a proving game for Dallas than to say who the top NFC contenders. That was my answer.
I mean, fair enough. Also, Dallas was an 11.5 point favorite in Arizona, not 14.5.
Hey, everyone has a poo-poo game,
That's a fact. That is a fact. We've seen that many times in the National Football League.
I'd rather get out right now against Arizona and win against San Francisco this Sunday.
I agree with that.
We have some comments here. Sincere Brown says Niners by 23. Wow, so they're going to pull a Los Angeles Rams first 3 quarters against the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like Shaheem Taylor says Niners 23, Dallas 20. Again, relatively low scoring game, but he says Cowboys cover the 3.5 point spread. Alonzo Diaz disagrees with you, Alfred. He says 99.9 though was crazy. 99's a lot. I mean that's a lot. But these are two NFL teams after all.
We like definitive answers on this show. All right.
I mean.
Okay, that's fair.
You live in a state where gambling is legal. Niners are minus 185. That's an implied 64.9%. You should be hammering that money line with them at minus 185.
Good value.
Put your money where your mouth is. You put your money where your mouth is. And Alonzo Diaz says Dalton's the GOAT. So you got Dalton's got some fans here in the comments. Final round, with these panelists. We've got third round rules again. Everything's doubled. Great take nets you 800 points. A good take 400 points. An okay take 200 and a bad take nothing. So we'll go to again. We're trying to cater to the whole audience. Again, the final segment. We're not even sure. Maybe Alfred's gonna be here. Maybe he's not. If he's able to ace this third round. We're trying to cater to everybody's favorite teams here. So we'll cater to Dalton, he was actually at this game at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Los Angeles Rams beat the Indianapolis Colts yesterday in Lucas Oil Stadium, 29-23, in overtime. Puka Nacua catches the game-winning touchdown. He's having a remarkable season. 39 catches through the first 4 games of the season. Obviously, the Rams looks like they're going to get some reinforcements with my twin, Cooper Kupp, coming back from injury relatively soon. Obviously, Aaron Donald's playing well. Matthew Stafford, I thought, was excellent in that game against Indianapolis yesterday. So I'll start with you, Alfred. Again, the NFC, I think, is a little bit better than we thought. However, it's at the bottom, it's terrible. So in a somewhat weak NFC, do you think the Rams are Super Bowl contenders?
Super Bowl contenders, no. Do I see them getting a wild card in the playoffs? Yes. I may catch a lot of heat for this, but I think they're the third best team in their division. Obviously, the 49ers are at the top, and I'm going to put the Seahawks above the Rams just because I believe that their wide receiver core of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson and Jigba is a bit better than Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. And we don't know how Cooper Kupp is going to look coming off of this hamstring injury. I mean, granted, also, reason why I say that, the Rams in their 2 losses, one of those losses was to the Bengals on Monday night. They lost to a hobbled Joe Burrow, who noticeably wasn't even as mobile as he should have been in a game where he was a game time decision that almost didn't play. Where I know people are going to say, oh, well, the Seahawks, they played the Giants, and the Giants are a hideous team. Yeah, but they got 2 other wins at this point in the season. But I don't see the Rams as a Super Bowl contender. They do have a solid roster. Stafford will always be Stafford, one of the better QBs, and yes, he is a better QB than Geno Smith. They won the Super Bowl not that long ago, but a lot of their key Super Bowl pieces are not there anymore. Von Miller's gone, OBJ is gone, and I just haven't. I don't like the way that the Rams have looked. Other than that one game against, ironically, Seattle, they've either had walk-off wins or disappointing losses. So, I mean, Seattle, for what it's worth, those games that they won have not been close. So, and then also you got to take into account the other teams in the NFC. People love the Eagles. The Buccaneers have been a surprise. The Lions are in the mix. I think the Lions and the Eagles and the 49ers have more of a chance of even not even just a Super Bowl, but getting to the NFC title game than the Rams are. But it's still early, so anything can happen. But are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. They'll make the playoff. I think they'll get a playoff spot, but no Super Bowl.
That's fair. And again, they did lose a lot of their key contributors last year. And I think San Francisco, I think we would all agree is head and shoulders the best. What's that?
No, and I said Cam Akers is gone too. We don't know if this production from Kyron Robinson will hold up. So anything.
Well, I mean, they did kind of ship Cam Akers to Minnesota for a bag of cookies. So I mean, it's just there's a little bit of truth there. But I'll move to Mike Guido now. Do you think the Rams after their start, again a little uneven, but do you think the Rams do their start are a Super Bowl contender in the NFC?
No, I'm kind of where Alfred is right now also. I don't think that they're a Super Bowl contender. I do think that they're more of a wild card playoff team. And honestly, I think in this NFC, it looks pretty decent for them to be a wild card playoff team, even though that division is going to be, that division's a tough out because San Francisco is obviously tops in the conference right now. Seattle is still very solid. And also, I don't think that Arizona is showing that they're a terrible, terrible football team, along with the likes of the Bears and maybe the Denver Broncos and some of these other teams that are kind of the bottom feeders of the league. So I don't think Arizona's an easy out any week either. But no, I don't think that the Rams are a Super Bowl contender right now. I think the best that they can be is a disruptor in the NFC, right? They played San Francisco very tight a couple of weeks ago. I think that could be a really good designation for them. One of the things that's impressing me about the Rams right now, though, is that they're finally accomplishing something that they really haven't been able to do consistently in years past, and that's run the football. Kyron Williams has been absolutely fantastic for them so far this season. It looks like they finally have found a consistent back that can take some of the pressure off of Matthew Stafford. So I think that there's something really good there. Obviously, Puka Nacua, what he's doing is fantastic. I never realized how much of a passing resemblance you have to Cooper Kupp. I think that's incredibly funny. But I do think the Rams can be disruptors. I just think that that's all they're going to be. They're solid on both sides of the football. They're not great on either side of the football, but they can do things a little bit differently. You might have to game plan for them a little bit different than you have in years past because of how they can run the football consistently. Now you actually need to guard them in the trenches. I think that there's a legitimate possibility there that they could even win a playoff game. But the NFC to me is very top heavy. It's very San Francisco, Philadelphia. If you want to throw Dallas in that conversation, you can. But right now, I think the NFC is very top heavy, and then it's going to be a bunch of middle tier teams. I think the Rams are kind of fall right there in the middle at some point. Maybe a little bit above average, maybe in the 6 or 7 range in the NFC. Right.
If nothing else, they're certainly the team that if you're like at the 2 or 3 seed, you're like, man, I don't want to play these guys, in the first round. Like I'd rather, maybe like lose that last game of the season, get somebody else who maybe isn't as. I mean, the case for the Rams, I guess, excuse me, would be that you could argue, so let's just put Kyle Shanahan to the side because he's kind of owned Sean McVay. But if you got matchup between Sean McVay and Mike McCarthy, you're taking Sean McVay and Nick Sirianni. I would take Sean McVay, Dan Campbell. I would take McVay. So you could argue outside of San Francisco, they'll have the better coach in just about any matchup that they would, any potential matchup in the playoffs that they would have. So you make some good points there, Mike. To Adam, now again, as a fan of a team that is I certainly view as a contender. I actually was on y'all's show and predicted the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. Do you see them in a situation where they are where they are contender in the NFC?
As much as I want to say no about the Rams just to make Dalton upset since he's a Rams fan, I have to say that I do believe that they're a contender. I'm a big Cooper Kupp fan. Finally, they have somebody on the other side of the field that can show up with Puka Nacua. I think having Kupp still sit out for most of the season and not rush him back is a good call when we start to look at the back half of the Rams season. They have a fairly decent schedule. They got 2 games against the Eagles. They got the Cowboys, which obviously they're going to get stomped. And Dalton, I'm going to put the invite out to you. By all means, come on to our show and talk about your Rams on our show, and we can interrupt and argue with each other all we want on that show. And then they got the 49ers at the end of the season. So I absolutely think the Rams have a shot. Because we're talking about wild cards. They don't have to guarantee a spot into the playoffs. They just got to make it into the playoffs. And then as Bryson already kind of stole some of our answers, you have Sean McVay, and they've seen the show with lesser talent on the team. So I absolutely do believe the Rams can be a contender because we're seeing a lot of great production in their run game. And when you get Cooper Kupp, regardless of him coming off of an injury, as long as they play it right, you got 2 deadly weapons on the receiving side. So, yeah, I think they're a contender.
Yeah, I'm looking. Excuse me. If you treat Cooper Kupp's, if the Rams treat Cooper Kupp's health a lot better than the Bengals are treating Joe Burrow's health, and they should be in good shape if he's 100% ready to go. Finally, to you, Dalton. Again, you're the Rams fan here, and again, you were at the game yesterday. Do you see your Los Angeles Rams as a Super Bowl contender in the NFC?
Yeah, I have a few comments and I have an answer for you. So I'll start with the commentary. The commentary is in our production meeting. I thought the question was going to be contender as a generalized term and not Super Bowl contender. And I think that's an important difference. To me, Super Bowl contender, I don't think the word Super Bowl around the Rams should really be used much at all. There just isn't enough talent there, nor have they proven anything to suggest that they belong anywhere near the Super Bowl discussions. That being said, this is a team sitting at 2-2 right now. They're going to be almost certainly favored in at least 8 games down the stretch. You could make an argument that they might end up favored in 10 of their games, depending on how big of a believer you are in the Browns heading out to the West Coast. And I think they sneakily might be a favorite Week 18 against San Francisco because San Francisco is going to be sitting everybody in that game. So I think realistically there is a path to the Rams winning 11 or 12 games. I'm not saying that happens, but it's there. To address Alfred, this idea that the Seahawks are better than the Rams because he likes their receiving core better, we're not playing fantasy football. We're playing football on the actual gridiron. There's more than just receivers out there running routes. This is not 7-man. I think that's a ridiculous angle to go at the take from. The Rams own that series with the Seahawks. They show it over and over. They showed it to begin this season. The other games they play against each other, the other game they play against each other this year will be at SoFi. Not that that's a big home field advantage anyway. Also, Adam, the Rams do not play the Eagles twice. They never play the Eagles twice in a season. Just something to point out there. So, look, the schedule breaks decently well for them. I think the offense is okay. The offensive line has looked better than expected. The reality for the Rams is they cannot sustain any injuries. If anybody gets hurt, they're in trouble. They have no depth on that roster. But if they stay healthy, sure, they could make a little run toward the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. They're not making the Super Bowl.
I think we found the newest rivalry on in sports debate. It's not Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. It is Adam Besse and it is Dalton Brown. We found a new. Y'all got to make this, Adam. Y'all got to get something lined up on the CanFan show sometime soon. Have Dalton. That'll be so when the Cowboys play the Rams. I think in a few weeks. That'll be something else. I think we got a new rivalry. Forget Alabama, Auburn. Forget all the no. This is the rivalry in all of sports right now. Ton of comments right here. Let's see. Oh man, Sincere Brown is not a fan of you, Alfred. He says Alfred just got humbled. That's rough. I don't know about that. But let's see. Seahawks have depth. Drew Lock entered the game, and they got led to a touchdown. If Stafford goes down, it's over. Cowboys CanFan the comments. We don't need Dalton on our show crying when they get blown out. Okay, shots fired, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Okay. There you go. Your guys are taking up for you, Adam. There you go. This is awesome. Okay, so let's see. Alfred went first, so I'll start with Alfred. Solid take in the Los Angeles Rams. I'll give you a good take in that regard. Solid take in terms of what they have. They did obviously lose a lot of their pieces. But you mentioned the running game. You mentioned the fact that against Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I actually you guys are going to think I'm nuts here. You especially Dalton. I actually think the gap between certain, not from a talent perspective, just from a production standpoint, the gap between Geno and Stafford isn't as big as some people might lead you to believe. But listen, Stafford is working with less in fairness, so I'll give you that. Let's see. Mike Guido in second. Again, the hot streak just continues. The hot streak continues for Mike Guido. I like what you said about they're not a contender, but they're a disruptor. I think that's an interesting point to make in terms of, again, like I mentioned, the way I interpreted what you said is they're the team you don't want to play in the wild card round of the playoffs. A division winner like a Dallas, Detroit, or maybe a Philly or San Francisco wouldn't want to face as their first opponent of the playoffs. So once again, Mike, great take. Listen, you're on fire. You can't stop him right now. Okay, you can't stop him. Let's move to let's see, Adam. Great take, Adam. As a great take, you mentioned their Super Bowl contenders this year because of the coaching matchup with Sean McVay. Again, sort of the head-to-head. Coaching to me is more important in football, with respect to baseball and basketball. Obviously, football's more important. Coaching is more important in football to me than any other sport. Look at the Miami Dolphins with Tua, with Mike McDaniel since he's come there, and the difference that has made. There's plenty of other examples we could look at. So. Great take on your part, Dalton. I'm not gonna lie to you, or not Dalton. I'm sorry, Adam. Adam, good take by Adam. Dalton, I'm not gonna lie to you. Good take, but I'm gonna dock you some points because of the fact that you're out here taking shots at everybody on the network. You're taking shots at Adam, taking shots at Alfred. I don't know why you didn't go after Mike. That was very rare. I guess you agree with Mike and what he's saying, but shots fired. We don't do that. Okay, friendly conversation. We don't take shots. Okay.
I thought shots fired was the whole reason we were here. Mike didn't say anything verifiably incorrect, so I didn't go at Mike.
That's subjective, sir. That is subjective.
Dalton's my boy, man. He can't take shots at me.
Whatever.
Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct.
So that means exactly, Alfred. So that means, let me look at our point totals and make sure I got this down. That means our two finalists will be Mike Guido, of course, because again he's had a perfect score, and Adam Besse from the Cowboys CanFan Podcast. These two will be moving on to the final round. Alfred, Dalton, well, I'll start with you, Alfred. Your reaction. Last time you were on here, you actually won. Your reaction to not making the final round.
No baseball talk, and the playoffs started today, but I'll be back.
Agreed. We need baseball talk.
This has got to be the most irrelevant wild card round I can remember in my life. Anyways, to the Astros and Braves are going to go to the World Series.
The Red Sox are not in it, right?
Stop. Okay, how the Mets doing? Dalton, your thoughts to being eliminated?
I'm fine with it. It is what it is. I said what I needed to say. I went at people when they needed to be gone at. We're sitting here making up fake point spreads between the Cowboys and Cardinals. We're making up scheduling with the Rams, with them playing the Eagles. I don't know what we're doing. So I'm going to continue to call people out when I hear things like that. Also, this wild card series is not irrelevant. This is baseball. Anything can happen. We can save that debate for another time, but I don't want to hear anything like that. That's nonsense.
The Astros are winning the American League, and the Braves are winning the National League. Sorry about your Dodgers. Okay, so it's Alfred, Dalton. Great job. Today on the show. Nonetheless, it just didn't work out for you guys today. So I apologize, but it'll come down. Get Dalton and Alfred off here. It comes down to the defending champion Mike Guido against the first Cowboys CanFan of the three of y'all to get to the final round. So this should be very fun. This is gonna be an interesting one. Okay, so let's put our final round rules first and foremost. It's a winner take all. The winner gets 10,000 points. The loser comes home empty-handed. It's an either-or type situation, and this has to be of the this is what now 9 episodes I think of the 8 o'clock spot. This has to be our saddest final topic. It comes down to this. So Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, they are two AFC East quarterbacks, both of which first-round picks in 2021, and both of which have struggled mightily at the next level. However, Zach Wilson played well the other night against the Kansas City Chiefs. Actually was outplayed Mahomes in basically every metric. Mac Jones put up another clunker against the Dallas Cowboys and looks worse week after week after week. But again, I don't think any of us would exactly consider franchise quarterbacks. So I'll start with you, Adam. Do you think, or in a do or die situation, okay, it's both rosters are equal, okay, Mac and Zach Wilson, which quarterback would you take through 4 quarters of play, maybe even overtime, who knows, for your life, Mac Jones or Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson for me. Now, do I have to explain my reasoning, or is it just one answer?
No, go ahead, explain.
Okay. Just for the fact that I think Zach Wilson showed a little bit more fire. When you look at Mac Jones, he's kind of like there's just not a lot there. Everyone touts how he has this big brain on him. He has a terrible arm. You put him in a good system with a coach like Bill Belichick, and he's still not able to produce the results that Bill Belichick is saying that he should be producing. I look over at Zach Wilson. He had a great game against Patty Mahomes, even though they lost. But when you have someone like Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh who seem to be in Zach Wilson's corner, I would be on that corner, and that's my quarterback when I come down to it, because they're obviously seeing something that the general public's not. And we've talked about it many times on our show, how these rookie quarterbacks, they get thrusted into unbelievable positions and scenarios where you're expecting so much from them because they're a first rounder or a second rounder and they're getting paid all this money. And yet these young guys still need to get developed. So does Zach Wilson need to get developed further? Yeah, I think he does. And I think he's already showing shades of fire under him. But they both pooed the bed against the Cowboys. But at least Zach Wilson shows a little bit more fire for me than Mac Jones.
Well, I mean, most quarterbacks do quote unquote poo the bed against the Cowboys because they have an awesome defense led by Micah Parsons. So, but your point's well taken. There's certainly far more. I think we'd all agree that there's far more upside from a talent perspective for Zach Wilson. It's just he's rarely hit that ceiling. The other night was one of the instances in which he did. To you now, Mike, the defending champion in a do or die game. Again, it's basically how would you rather die? Basically, would you take Mac Jones of the New England Patriots or Zach Wilson of the New York Jets?
I would take Mac Jones, and the reason I would say so, and I think Bryson, you and I can both agree, and Adam, I think, could probably agree with this too, is that there's very few keys to winning in the NFL on a consistent basis, right? One of them is you have to be at least somewhat reliable on the defensive side of the football, and the other part of it is you have to not make mistakes. And that's one of the things that I think Zach Wilson has a master's degree in, is throwing interceptions, fumbling the football, and turning the ball over and making mistakes, making bad reads. Mac Jones by no means is perfect in that category. But as of right now, you also have to keep in mind too, Mac Jones does not have a lot to work with in New England. He just simply does not. The wide receivers that he has in New England are not even close to the tier of what Zach Wilson is working with the Jets. And truth be told, right now, Mac Jones, when he came into the league, was the arm strength there? Absolutely not. But was the accuracy there? Yes. Has he had a winning record? Absolutely, he has. Right? You date Mac Jones back to college. He's had the winning pedigree back when he was at Alabama as well. So I'm with Adam a little bit on this one. I don't know that I love either of my options right now. I really don't. But I trust Mac Jones a little bit more to make fewer mistakes than Zach Wilson. Listen, you had people last week saying that Zach Wilson wasn't an NFL quarterback. I don't think that anybody has said that about Mac Jones yet. A backup maybe, but an NFL quarterback, I think everybody would say Mac Jones is at least an NFL quarterback. I'm going to take Mac Jones.
That's fair. And I said, I have been saying that about Zach Wilson dated back to last season, but I also said that Mac Jones, before even playing an NFL snap, was a backup in the NFL. I'm definitely being validated more on the Mac Jones front. So I'm not going to lie, if I can, let me go and get the final point total in for this afternoon's, or this evening's winner, because both of y'all were absolutely spectacular, and I got to obviously dial up the victory music here. But the champion this week of the 8 o'clock spot is Adam Besse. Adam, the Cowboys CanFan champion of the 8 o'clock spot on Tuesday. There we go. and he takes down the defending champion in the process. Adam, you represented your show well. How do you feel about this?
I feel great. I feel like I had to not interrupt, and I'm glad I didn't interrupt a couple times because like you get fired up and you hear other people comment about things. You're like, oh, that's a great point. I think shows like this are solid because it gives you more perspective on things. Obviously, I'm a bit of a homer, and I feel like my answers were the correct ones. But I feel good. I feel good to be here. I'm glad I'm able to represent for my boy AJ, the Cowboys CanFan. Every Wednesdays. And Wednesdays at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we're talking about the upcoming game, and then we live stream every game. So if you're tuning in, make sure you show up. Mike Guido, you're welcome to come on and debate us whenever you want, even though you are a Cow. Actually, Mike, you almost started to sound like you weren't a Cowboys fan, and I know that's not true. You got to get a little bit of homerism into you. We're still thinking this is a Super Bowl.
Listen, I'm apparently like Bryson. I'm all about objectivity and all this stuff that he claims to be about, right?
That's
I mean, that's kind of where I'm standing now. So, I got to be realistic.
Barry Grant Jr., the still points leader, he's excited. He says, Adam wins. My guy. Yes, revenge for me.
If we were a wrestling federation, Barry and I would secretly be trying to get into some sort of stable. And we would be some sort of faction. Maybe me and AJ tag team champs of the world, Anth coming in as a singles champ, and then Barry Grant Jr. as our mystery guest for this Cowboy stable. So
listen, and by the way, both of y'all were fantastic. The final round, fantastic. Unfortunately, Mike Guido's very impressive streak of perfect scores comes to an end. I guess technically doesn't totally come to an end, but listen, in the regular rounds, maybe you can continue that next time you're on the show. But bringing Dalton and Alfred back in the mix. Great job by everybody here. The 8 o'clock spot, that is going to do it for us tonight. Be sure to go subscribe to the Gryd Network on YouTube and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Please do the same for all of our awesome content creators, including those who are panelists tonight on the 8 o'clock spot. Join us next week on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, live on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel and Twitter page. And until next time, stay safe out there. God bless y'all, and see ya. Peace out.
This is for you, Dalton.
The flex. I'll get the leaderboards. Ironed out pretty soon. Great job, guys. For some reason the stream isn't ending.
Oh, hey, we're still live, baby.
Are we still live? I guess we are still live, guys.
This is the time where we can kind of debate. And regardless of what my co-host said, Dalton, you are absolutely allowed to